I would like panel two to join us on the stage. That will be Stephanie and Daniel. And what they're going to be focusing on is the title of this panel is Learning About Net Zero, Where to Start. This is particularly because as has been actually observed by a number of the other panelists and speakers, we're all on a journey with this. So what we recognize, that's why kind of the learning and sharing is the kind of central part of our principles. And we've invited Stephanie, who actually joined the fifth action learning group that we created. So she joined actually a little bit after the first four were created. So she's very new to this, but she's stepped up for it. And then also Daniel, who's actually been doing some work around this for quite some time, but I'll let him give more about that. So we're going to start off with Daniel. And if you can just describe what your role is, a little bit about why you're taking climate action, and then share what your journey has been.
Thank you, Adam. So I'm Daniel Grimwood. I'm a lawyer in ARUP's legal team in the UK IMEA region, and I am currently leading on climate change legal risks within our team. So it has become a sort of recognised part of what we do and the service we provide as a legal team. I'm taking climate action because it's extremely important to me, and I want to have a livable planet for me and my daughter and all of us in the years to come. And the trajectory we're on at the moment is not the right one. So a simple reason for taking action, I suppose. In terms of my journey, so it's always been an important thing for me. I've kind of dabbled throughout my career with being a member of the UKLA, attending kind of environmental legal events, and just generally reading about this in my spare time outside of my role. And then I moved jobs a couple of years ago, nearly 3 years ago now, to ARUP, and ARUP was a company that was aligned with my interests and shared my values. And ARUP puts sustainable development at the heart of its values and of its company strategy, and it has a climate services plan as well. So climate change and sustainable development is kind of central to ARUP's thinking. So I joined the company, and I always had in mind that this would be something I would try to get involved with and try to shape my role in that direction. And I found that the legal team, every in-house legal team deals with so many issues on a daily basis, and things can get lost in all of the noise. And I found that nobody was really looking at climate change as a legal risk and raising it within ARUP. There are plenty of people within the company who are thinking about climate change, about decarbonisation and net zero and resilience, but there wasn't anybody kind of being the voice on the legal side. So I kind of took it upon myself with the knowledge I already had, and started attending events just to build my knowledge. And I attended one law firm event. It was a Clyde & Co event on resilience, which really struck a chord and got me thinking. A lot of the things that they were talking about were directly relevant to ARUP and could pose a real kind of business risk that people should know about. And lots of us on the panel have been talking about how in-house legal teams are guardians of the business, and it's part of our role to kind of raise risks that we think the business should be thinking about. So I went back to the office after attending this event and just jotted down on one side of A4 a note, at first to my GC, setting out what I thought the climate change legal risks, including decarbonisation, were to ARUP. And I was asked to then take that and present it to the board. And they were very interested, but at that time, this was a couple of years ago, there were things that were taken away from it, but it wasn't kind of an urgent thing for ARUP to deal with. It was something that we were already dealing with, and there wasn't anything that came of it immediately. So I spent the next year and a half sharing what I thought were the legal issues with the business and with the various project teams around ARUP who work on projects for our clients, and also with the people involved in corporate governance and our supply chains and things like that. And gradually it's gained traction. And in the last 6 months or so, it's really gained traction. And now the legal team has been asked to write some guidance for the firm globally about climate change legal risks, both decarbonisation and climate resilience, and to make that a global thing and then share that. So I think my journey has come from a place of learning about it myself in my own time to making it part of my role, and now very much a part of my role because we actually have a deliverable for the business on climate change legal risk.
That's a fantastic journey, and I remember the first time I heard it, just like inspired that you'd got yourself and gone for it, and that's in a sense what Lawyers for Net Zero is looking to do, is give people the guidance, the permission to do that. So in the spirit of that, I'd like to hand over to Stephanie to kind of highlight herself and her journey as to what's brought her to be speaking to you now.
Thanks, Adam. Afternoon, everybody. My name's Stephanie Beat. I'm Head of Legal and Compliance at Certas Energy. Certas Energy is part of the Retail and Oil division of DCC PLC, and I've literally just been with the business for 12 months now. So I think I've been brought today to speak to you, which I'm really honoured to do so, to just really probably show what you can achieve in quite a small amount of time, because as Adam said, probably, I think maybe even less than 8 weeks ago, I'd never heard of Lawyers for Net Zero. And clearly, within our business, we're going to be on a very interesting journey. DCC have sort of set out quite clearly their goals and objectives, and as a company in that group, we've got an expectation and certainly a drive and a desire to move towards that. So I was conscious internally that I'd need to get up to speed quite quickly on this area. I definitely saw it as something that, I didn't want to be waiting for people to come and ask me about. I wanted to be more proactive. And I think a few people have said today, it's such a huge topic. It's easy to feel quite overwhelmed with it, particularly with everything else that you've got going on in your day job. So I actually attended a GC summit that the lawyer was running, and it was actually Kiran that inspired me on this one, as I'm sure she has many people on the call today. And that's when I reached out to Adam to find out a bit more about the organisation. And I have to say, as I say, a few weeks in now, I've attended obviously the working learning action groups. And it's just having that time in your busy schedule where you do have to break out and join these groups, speak with other people who are like-minded on various points of their journey. I'm probably one of the newest to it, but I've already taken away a huge amount. And I think taking such a huge topic and chunking it up into more actionable steps that you can take on a weekly basis and just build into your own job, it's just really rewarding. I think any lawyer, any head of legal is always clamoring to be involved in more strategic discussions and decision making within a business. And this really, particularly if your organisation's fairly early on in its journey, it's one of the key points that you can do in this area. I think quite a few people have said things today that I can really just endorse. Within the legal department, you do speak to a lot of people across your organisation. And I was conscious that there were a lot of people working on sustainability related projects, but they just weren't talking to each other. They were in silos. So already, and I sort of reported this back through the Action Learning Group last week, some of the working groups have already amalgamated, saying, we didn't know you were doing this, and Steph sort of told us to speak to you. And actually already had sort of thanks internally for getting involved, which I think as a lawyer is great that people actually want you to be involved. So I think for me, being part of this organisation and just speaking with like-minded people has just really given me that sort of acceleration, I suppose, to sort of at least try and do some things internally, even if they only feel like baby steps at the moment. I really do feel like this is going to move on quite quickly. and it's sort of giving me the tools to be able to make a sort of value contribution.
Wonderful, thank you for that. Now, we are coming towards the end, but after this second panel, we're going to have an opportunity to ask questions of Paul and Kieran, our keynotes at the start. So please do add questions to the chat function, and I'll be able to ask those. So we'll actually go back to you, Stephanie. You've talked about why the process has been valuable, which is great, but what's been the benefits to either you personally or even you're starting to see to the business about how the process that you've been undertaking for the last couple of months?
I think the biggest thing I've seen is literally that conversation that's been taking place internally. So as I said, one of the key reasons that I wanted to find out more was because I could already feel a lot of momentum and a lot of people getting very busy on things. And obviously, as people have pointed out, the key role when a GC or a head of legal alarm goes off is just thinking, we don't want to rush at this. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be legitimate. The last thing you want is to cause a reputational catastrophe because you've launched into something and you're falling into that greenwashing trap. So as I say, the same person that sort of thanked me for sort of getting involved with their working party is now even starting to talk like me. And the other day, I didn't even have to say anything before she'd already started the meeting off by talking about, we need to be leading by example. We need to be avoiding greenwashing. So clearly, things can have quite a big impact. And I don't mean this to sound big-headed in any way, but I think as lawyers, sometimes we don't appreciate how much impact we have and how much people listen to the things that we're saying. So I think there's a great opportunity. I mean, the Lawyers for Net Zero group is brilliant because it gives you that ability to sort of home into lots of other areas and lots of other experts in their field and find out what they're doing. Also give you ideas as well that you can take back to your organisation to help them to try and embed it more in what they're doing. So I'm already starting to see the benefits, literally, like I say, probably 8 weeks in.
So thank you. And then as the panelists go, Daniel, obviously you've been doing this for a little longer. So, and we're not going to claim all of this is due to Lawyers for Net Zero, clearly, because you started off yourself. So for you over the last 2 years, what have you been seeing as the additional benefits to what you've already shared?
Yeah, one of the main ones is that this is a board level issue for I think all companies, or if it isn't yet, it should be. And I think people would agree based on what we've had today so far. So bringing this up has got me in front of the most senior people in the organization, and it has, I'm sure I'm talking here in the audience to some people who aren't GCs, and as a way for kind of progressing through your career, this is a good thing to kind of pick up and run with. It's a current risk issue and it's currently underrepresented, I think, at board level, and it certainly was in ARUP, and ARUP was fairly advanced with its thinking on decarbonisation. So that's one thing. Talking about this has made it become a recognised part of my role, and as I said, this is something that I always wanted to be part of my professional career. It was always something that I cared about, and so now my job aligns more with my values. So it's been great from that perspective as well. And I think there's a huge opportunity here for lawyers to kind of have an impact in their organizations, because net zero and the kind of regulatory landscape around net zero is only going to grow. There's a gap between the rhetoric on net zero and the number of laws and regulations that are actually affecting companies like ARUP at the moment. And that will be true for many companies, and in-house counsel in many companies are probably aware that there might be laws coming down the line that are going to affect them. So if you're setting yourself up to be the person that's the go-to person on that, I think that's a good place to be. Lawyers for Net Zero has been so helpful for me in terms of a kind of touch point with other lawyers to say, you know, this is what we're doing, this isn't working, we've got a bit of a blocker here, how would you get around it? And getting some other people from other organizations giving you advice on this and carving out time in their day to give you some help, because it's help that you possibly could seek from people within your organization, but it's the like-minded individuals, and everybody's approaching this challenge from different ways. So it's been great to get the thoughts of lots of people as we all kind of learn and share.
Fantastic. Well, that's a wrap for the panels, but not a wrap for this session yet, because we still fortunately have Kieran and Paul, our keynotes from the start of the session. So if Daniel and Stephanie can glide off the stage and